On February 24, 1978, 5 men traveled by car to a basketball game. This night would be the last time they would all be seen alive. 4 dead, 1 disappearing. On February 19, 2013, hotel guests complained of strange tasting water and low water pressure. When the water tank of the hotel was opened, the hotel staff made a grisly discovery. A strange photo of a happy couple with a creepy canine behind the man. And did Charlie Chaplin capture evidence of a time traveler? Join me for some interesting mysteries. On February 19, 2013, maintenance worker Santiago Lopez ascended to the roof of the Ciso Hotel. For weeks, guests at the hotel had been complaining of black-colored water, of foul-tasting water, and of foul-smelling water, as well as low water pressure. As Lopez opened one of the 4 1,000-gallon tanks, he would make a sickening discovery. Inside, floating in the water, was the remains of Elisa Lam. Elisa Lam was a 21-year-old University of British Columbia student. She suffered from bipolar disorder. She had checked into the Ciso Hotel on January 26, 2013. She then disappeared around January 31, 2013. And on February 19th, her body was discovered in one of the most unlikely of places. In search of answers to how she got to the roof, police retraced every step she made from the time she checked in to the day she went missing. This left investigators with more questions than answers. Elisa Lam had decided to visit California. First, she went to the San Diego Zoo before making her way to Los Angeles. When she arrived at the Ciso Hotel, she was originally placed in a hostel-type room, but the guests she was sharing the room with began complaining about her. She had come off as odd to them and had made them slightly uncomfortable, so she was booked into a room of her own. By January 31st, she disappeared. Lam had been in constant contact with her parents during the trip, but on January 31st, they couldn't reach her. She was due to check out and go to Santa Cruz. The LAPD was called, and her parents came from their homes in British Columbia to help with the search. On the last day she was seen, she was alone. The manager of a bookstore called The Last Bookstore was one of the last people to see her alive that day, and the manager of the bookstore stated that she was friendly, outgoing, and was buying gifts for her family. The police brought in dogs to search for her. They searched the entire hotel on the roof but came up with nothing. On February 13th, the police got hold of this video, the last video of Elisa Lam alive. The elevator footage is grainy. She pushes multiple buttons, then hides in a corner. There seems to be no real urgency to her demeanor, suggesting she isn't hiding from someone. The door doesn't close, so she peeks out, then back in, as if she's playing a game of hide and seek. She steps out once more, and this time we see her begin to panic. She re-enters the elevator, pushing more buttons. She steps out of the elevator and seems to have a conversation with someone we cannot see, moving her hands in weird motions. She then seems to walk away from the elevator as the elevator closes. This raised more questions than answers. To some, it suggested something paranormal, but there is a more logical explanation for her behavior. Elisa Lam suffered from bipolar disorder. She was on a cocktail of for it, and she had stopped taking her medication. When she was off of it, she had bouts of hallucinations, and these hallucinations could sometimes cause terror for the young girl. While she was missing, guests began to complain about odd-tasting water, black water, and a foul odor. Santiago Lopez went to the roof and found inside one of the large water tanks the body of Elisa Lam. She was with her clothes in the tank. She had been there for weeks, as the time of death suggested around February 1st. According to her autopsy, her body showed no signs of or internal or external injuries. No signs of her prescription drugs were in her system. No signs of alcohol or recreational drugs in her system. Her death was ruled an accidental drowning. But the question is, how did she get in the water tank? There was a theory that she was the target of an unknown killer who threw her into the water tanks. But there is no evidence of this happening. Some say she was playing the elevator game, a game where the user rides the elevator after pressing a specific number of buttons. A ghostly woman is said to appear. You must not look or talk to her. On the final stop, you'll be transported to another world. Then you have a theory that she was being haunted by a ghostly presence in the hotel. One of the reasons she was asked to move rooms was her strange behavior. She wrote "go away" on post-it notes and placed them all over the room. It looks as though in the elevator video she is talking to a person that the camera cannot pick up. But there again is more logical explanations. She got to the roof herself and climbed into the water tank. The roof had a door that had an alarm on it, but no alarm was raised that day. But there are ways around the alarm to get to the roof. The fire escape. Though to give all the information, there is evidence that the alarm on the roof is faulty, and the roof door was left unlocked that night. The hatch to the tanks was said to be heavy and hard to lift. Sometimes they were left open, and it is unknown if the one she was found in was left open that night. Though the tanks are too large, there is a way to get onto them from a rooftop right next to them. A ladder leads up to a small roof, and on the other side is a small drop down that allows access without any issue. From there, if a hatch was open, she could slip inside. If the hatch was closed, it would have been much easier to open. This makes the most sense, as the elevator video seems that she is more having a mental breakdown than fear of a person stalking her. But what was going through her mind to lead her to the roof? Maybe in her mental breakdown, she feared something was coming for her, so she tried to hide somewhere, and it led to her death. I feel the mystery of her death is solved. I feel that she most likely suffered a psychotic break. She either entered the roof through the unlocked roof door or via the fire escape. Then she climbed into the water tank and passed away. What was going through her mind to do this will forever remain a mystery. This is a picture of a married couple celebrating the 50th wedding anniversary of the man's in-laws. Do you see anything strange in this picture? Behind the man's left shoulder is the image of a dog. The couple in question are Joe and Patty Martinez. According to the couple, the dog wasn't there. I had previously shown this picture on a video called Ghostly Images, but since then I have gotten more information about this picture. Joe Martinez hid his use from everyone around him. He claimed that it was driving him mad and was soul destroying. Even though it put a strain on his marriage, the couple went to Patty's parents' 50th wedding anniversary. The couple didn't think anything of the photo at first. It was slipped into an album to be forgotten. That wasn't until years later when they were looking through their albums that they happened across the photo. It was then that they noticed the face of a dog over the shoulder of Joe Martinez. Joe had stated that the dog was a demon dog, the apparition of how one struggles with use, stating, "There is good and evil in life. There is the good on the right-hand side of me, and there's the evil on the left-hand side of me." According to the couple, there was no dog in the picture. At first, it looks like the dog is large, until you look at the full picture. There's a table behind them, undisturbed, and a dog of that size jumping on the table would have likely moved the cloth and the items on the table. But also, a dog of some size enough to peek over the shoulder of Joe Martinez would have a body somewhere behind the couple. If you look closely, you will see no body, only a face peeking out from behind the couple. Joe Martinez stated that this photo helped him conquer his addictions. The dog might have been there. It might have not. What is clear enough, though, is this picture did some good in turning a man's life around. 5 men traveled from Yuba City, California to Chico, California to attend a basketball game on February 24th, 1978. Bill Sterling, Jack Hewitt, Ted Weir, Jack Madruga, and Gary Mathias. The five would go missing for months, until 4 of their bodies were discovered, miles away from the route they were supposed to take to go home. The 5th was never seen again. The 5 men had mild intellectual disabilities or suffered from mental illness. Sterling, Hewitt, Weir, and Madruga had intellectual disabilities, while Gary Mathias had suffered from schizophrenia. Mathias and Madruga were also both Army veterans. All 5 were in their mid-20s to early 30s, and enjoyed spending time together talking about basketball and being a part of a league. They played for a team called the Gateway Gators, and they were supposed to play at the Special Olympics. But on a winter's night, the 5 traveled from their homes in Yuba City to Chico in a white 1969 Mercury Montego owned by Madruga to see a basketball game. They never returned home. After the game, the group traveled to a market in the heart of Chico to buy snacks for the car ride home. According to the clerk that night, they came in just at closing time at 10 p.m., which annoyed the clerk. Meanwhile, in Yuba City, the parents of the 5 waited up for them to come home. But as the sun rose, they knew something was wrong. Police began to follow the route the car would have taken to get home, finding nothing. But a few days later, the Mercury Montego was found by a park ranger in Plumas National Forest. The ranger at first wrote it off because of the abundance of snow in the area. People would park and go cross-country skiing. But when he received a bulletin about the missing 5, he filed a report on February 28th. Police searched the car, finding empty snack wrappers and empty soda cans. The road the car was found on was 70 miles from Chico. Any direct route to Yuba City was far away. It was a winding dirt road that entered the mountains. It was cold, and the 5 men didn't bring any warm weather clothes, and they were missing from the car. The car had become stuck in the snowdrifts, and any footprints that would suggest the direction they went had vanished in the fallen snow. It wasn't until June 4th, 1978 that the answer to what happened to them was finally discovered. A group of motorcyclists were enjoying the time of the year where there was no snow on the ground. They made their way to a trailer that was kept by the ranger services. Inside, they found the body of Weir, 20 miles away from where he and the others abandoned the car. Weir was on a bed covered with 8 sheets, including his head. But he had died from a combination of hypothermia and starvation, meaning he had been alive for months following the disappearance. He had lost half of his 200 pounds, and he had grown a beard, suggesting that he died 13 weeks after going missing. His feet were frostbitten and bare. It was puzzling for many reasons, one being that there was no attempt to start a fire in the trailer to warm them, when they had a way to do so in the trailer. There was food in the trailer. It was stocked for the winter months. With knowing where the 5 ended up, search parties began to look along the trail that went from the trailer to where the car was found. Madruga and Sterling's remains were found 11 miles away from the car on the opposite sides of the road. Hewitt's father found Hewitt's backbone in a brush 2 miles northeast of the trailer. Mathias's remains have never been found. The hypothesis is the 5 couldn't get a fire going and didn't know that there was food in the trailer. So fearing that Weir was going to die, Hewitt, Sterling, and Madruga left to go get help, leaving Mathias behind. If this happened on February 28th, they would have walked headfirst into a blizzard. This makes sense because the only pair of shoes found in the trailer were Mathias' shoes, which suggested he swapped them out for Weir's much larger shoes. No one knows if he was alive or if he is deceased. Blankets and a rusted flashlight were found away from the trailer and suggested that someone went out looking for the others, but no remains of Mathias were ever found. All 4 died of hypothermia, with evidence that they had found the shelter and had been staying there before they perished. What drove them up a road that was away from their route home? One theory is that Mathias decided to take a detour to see friends. In an attempt to visit these friends before the 5 went home, they turned down the wrong road and got stuck. Whatever reason they left the car stuck instead of attempting to free it or walk to the road for help is uncertain. Madruga's mother suggested that there was something more sinister that happened to the 5 men, suggesting that someone must have chased them up the road that night. This is surprisingly chilling due to one witness statement. Joseph Shones was also stuck on the road that very night. While trying to dislodge his car, he suffered a mild heart attack. To stop himself from dying in the cold weather, he climbed into the car and relaxed the best he could. He had fallen asleep when at 2 a.m. he awoke to the sound of whistling. He turned to see several men and a woman holding a baby behind where his car was. The headlights of the car behind him obstructing his view of what was going on. He called for help, but the men and woman rushed back to the car and the lights vanished in silence. At 5 a.m., the engine of his car stopped as it ran out of fuel. Feeling a little bit better, He had gotten out of the car and trekked 8 miles to a lodge. He passed the Montego on his way, empty, sitting there like it was found. He didn't think anything of it at the time. This report also coincides with an eerie report that came from witnesses leaving the basketball game. The 5 apparently got into an altercation with a group of men in the parking lot of Chico University. Then in 2017, a blog was posted by someone claiming to be Hewitt's sister-in-law. She believed that the men had witnessed an altercation between several men and a woman at the basketball game. The 5 men confronted the men, and the confrontation turned hostile. They were driven to the entrance of the road in Plumas National Forest. The blog claimed that Matthias was thrown from a bridge and was killed, while the 4 others fled in the car, getting lost and ended up where the car was found. According to the blog post, shell casings were found at the entrance to the road. This doesn't explain the stop at the market for snacks though, unless those who were following them happened to follow them to the store and then confronted them there. What happened to them that night and over the course of the months was probably a nightmare for the 5 men. What caused them to go up a road none of them have ever been to? This is still unanswered. In 1928, Charlie Chaplin premiered his silent film, The Circus, at Mann's Chinese Theater in Los Angeles, California. That day, allegedly someone was filming outside the theater. This footage would end up in the extras of a DVD release of the film, where George Clark would spot something in the footage that would make him believe that it is evidence of time travel. The footage is mundane, showing first the crowd that gathered for the premiere of the film, then dissolves to footage of people passing in the streets, with a statue of a zebra with a saddle on it. Then we see a person dressed in black with a black hat on, holding something up to their ear. It looks as though the person is talking to someone on a cell phone, but cell phones hadn't been invented yet. The person, most likely a woman, stops, turns her head towards the camera, and it becomes clear that they are talking. Some suggest that this is a time traveler, one who had gone back in time to see the silent film right when it premiered. But time travel, for all we know, is impossible with the technology we have now. And who knows if in the future, when such technology might be discovered, if cell phones would still be around. So what are we looking at here? Is it a time traveler or a hoax? One theory is that it's a hoax that was created by George Clark. He was the one who put the footage online. He was the first to show it. He could have faked it for notoriety. The other explanation is that it's a hearing aid, which would make sense as hearing aids at that time came in the form of ear horns, something that you hold up to your ear. Maybe what was captured that day was an old woman with a hearing aid talking to herself. Back in 2021, I did a video on the boy in the box. Well, there's been an update on that case, and that is worth talking about. From February 25th, 1957 to November 30th, 2022, the boy in the box was known as America's Unknown Child. He is no longer unknown. To recap, on February 25th on Susquehanna Road in Fox Chase, Philadelphia, a young boy's remains were found inside a box for a crib, wrapped in a blanket. For the longest time, no one came forward to claim this child, and DNA in the past came up with nothing. That was until 2022 when another DNA test was done. Using investigative genetic genealogy, he was finally identified as Joseph Augustus Zarelli.
Without the hard work, dedication, and passion and the doggedness of the many, we would not be here today to give America's formerly unknown child, Joseph Augustus Zarelli.
Born on January 13th, 1953. He was 4 years old. His name is now known. Who killed him remains a mystery. Thank you for joining me. If you have a suggestion for a mystery I should look at for some interesting mysteries, please leave a comment or leave a message in my Discord server. There's a special channel for suggestions I check every day. Link to my Discord server is in the description. And of course, if you have a theory about any of the mysteries discussed in this video, please leave a comment on the video of your theory.